Alright guys, let's keep on going with the Curse Spirit Cleanup battle, and this time it'll be for the yellow stages. So for this one, it's actually really tough, but once again I'll be showing you guys both a pay to win strategy, which is going to feature SSL Yaga, Zone Yuji, and also Domain Gojo and Domain Megumi as well. So this is very pay to win heavy, but then obviously I will also show you a free to play friendly one, but this one can only get you to rank 7, whereas obviously the pay to win one can actually get you all the way to rank 10. Alright, so let's start off with the pay to win one. So basically for this strat, what you are kind of wanting to do, so the main schedule I guess you want to do is that you want to have your domain Megami charge up his ult on turn 5, so that you'll be using your domain expansion on turn 5, and within those first 5 turns you want to kill off the boss first HP bar as well. So that's just be coming from Zone Yuji and also your Yaga doing the debuff, etc. And then as soon as you enter the second phase of the battle from turn 6 onwards, what you're going to do is you're just be doing 3 skill 1. That is going to give you 99.3 debuff every single time, so you'll be able to stack it all the way up to 300. And at the same time you will be also using the ultimate attack from Zone Yuji, and then you can actually kill off the entire second HP bar or the second phase of the boss in just 3 turns. So that basically together means 8 turns for the first 2 phases, and then you are left with a whole whooping 9 turns for the last phase of the boss. So that's basically the rough schedule you have to keep in mind. Okay, now while that sounds pretty simple on paper, there's actually loads of little tricks you have to bear in mind. So that's kind of why, even though there's a pay to win, you still have to pay very close attention to a lot of the skill rotations, etc. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your domain Megami can actually charge up his ult by turn 5. Now, there are 2 ways of doing it, kind of depending on how many dupe is your domain Gojo. Your domain Megumi, because if your domain Megumi is actually 2 dupe or higher, he's going to start off with a 10 extra curse energy, and that's actually going to slightly mess up your passive ability. But that's okay, there's still a way around that. But basically, if your domain Megami is actually higher than 2 dupes, what you want to do is you want to equip this reclamation on domain Megami, and then instead of this one on Gojo, what you want to do is you then want to put this one on Gojo instead, and you then try to increase the ult by activating the passive ability from domain Gojo, or from this reclamation. So this one is a bit more RNG reliant, but normally you should still be able to hit 2 crit within the 3 turns you are available to charge up. So you don't need to hit a crit every single turn, but at least on 2 of those turns you should be enough. So that would be one way of doing it. But if your domain Megami is actually only 1 dupe or lower, there's actually a much more consistent way of doing it, which is actually going to be equipping this reclamation, if you do have it obviously, equipping this reclamation on domain Megami and then this one on domain Gojo. Now, if you just do this by yourself, what you realize is that you will actually be missing a tiny bit of ult energy from this kind of just this kind of lineup or structure. But basically the thing is, if you just use Kaito to use skill 3 straight away, which a lot of times that's people's first reaction, what's going to happen is that your domain Megami is then going to end up with too much curse energy and therefore not able to activate this passive. So basically the tiny bit of trick you need to do here is just, rather than using Kaito to skill 3 straight away on turn 1, you're actually just going to use a skill 1 instead for the very first turn. And when you are doing that, obviously your domain Megami will then be able to keep his curse energy low, and therefore actually ensure he's able to actually proc this passive and therefore increase his ult gauge. So that'd be one way of doing it. And then when you're doing that, you also have to remember of the turn order, because this is now SSL Yaga rather than SL Yaga. So basically the move you want to use is actually the skill 3, which is not a buff, and therefore your unity would actually be procced after whatever domain Megami is attack. So rather than activating this reclamation on turn 1, what you actually want to do instead is activate this on turn 2 in order to benefit from the effect or the buff effect from unity. So that basically kind of allows your domain Megami to fully charge his ult by turn 5, which is exactly what you need. And then, like I said, on turn 5, you'll be doing a combo attack to use your domain expansion, 10-6, you'll be applying the first debuff from Domain Megami. This is also going to be the time when your Zong Yuji activate his ult. And then on 10-7, 10-8, whilst your Domain Megami is going to be stacking up more debuff, what your Zong Yuji is then going to do is will be doing his double hit. And the way you do Zong Yuji's double hit is always going to be 1 skill 2, followed by 1 skill 3 on the very first turn, and then the second turn will be 2 skill 3 back to back. So basically in total it'll be 1 skill 2 and 3 skill 3, and that's how you can reach the maximum amount of damage. So that's basically what you want to do with Zong Yuji. And then that will bring you all the way up to 10-9, I believe. And this is the case when you then enter the third phase or the final phase of the boss. And what you want to do is you want to activate this regression to make sure Kaito dies very, very early on. And then your domain Gojo is then going to come in. And once again, on the very first turn, you do not want to activate either of the regression on domain Gojo or domain Megami. You want to wait for Unity to be activated first, and then you'll be activating them on the second turn when Unity is already available. So that's basically how you can then charge up their ult. And then what you do for phase 3 is you want to then simply combo attack between Domain Megami and also Domain Gojo. And then on the same turn, you're just going to be doing your usual stuff with your Domain Yaga, with your SSR Yaga and Zong Yuji. However, then on the second turn, once your Domain Megami is going to start stacking up debuff, this is where you would then do a combo attack between Yaga and Zong Yuji. And then on the third turn, from the domain has been activated, once again you'll be doing your double hits on your Yuji. So start off with with a skill 2 followed by a skill 3, and then on the very last turn it'll be a 2 skill 3 back to back, and that's also going to be when you activate your recollection. Now all of this should be just about enough for you to actually kill off the boss. Now there's actually going to be one very, very crucial thing which a lot of time people are going to skip over because it's kind of built into their behavior, which is normally what people tend to do when Domain Megami have his domain expansion available. You'll just be doing your skill 1 all the time, because this on paper is very strong, right? 99% damage taken increase. However, for this particular battle, depending on your actual skill levels, you may actually want to change that, because if you actually take a close look at the skill description for Domain Megami skill 3, what you realize is that it actually applies a 60% physical technique damage taken increase. And if you have watched my previous video on how the damage formula in this game work, if you haven't, I will post that link in the comment section. But basically, because this is a total different multiplier to what skill 1 is able to apply, it's actually going to be slightly tricky in terms of which one is actually more beneficial to the team. And that's where you probably need to get an Excel spreadsheet to do actually some calculations. I have done it for my set of skills, and basically the main thing here is that because the skill 1, even though this is a higher number, it's 100%, this will be adding on to the massive 300% Domain Gojo is already able to give, whereas the skill 3, even though it's only a mere 60%, this is actually multiplying to what Domain Gojo is able to give. However, you'll be adding on to what your Yaga is able to give. So that's kind of what you actually need to bring out a spreadsheet to do some maths behind it, depending on your own skill levels. But for me, I've done the maths. For my set of skills, the most beneficial combination would be starting off with 1 skill 1 and then follow up with 2 skill 3. So that's kind of the right combination of attacks you want to do, and also in that order, by the way. So do skill 1 first and then followed by 2 skill 3. So if you watch my gameplay later on and you see me start using skill 3 doing domain expansion, it's not a mistake, it's not a typo. That's actually how you can maximize your damage with the skills levels that I have available. But for you guys, if you actually have level up certain skills where your skills are not as high as mine, the damage formula may slightly change. So it's probably best for you to actually get out a spreadsheet and actually do the calculation yourself. And once again, I'll have that damage calculation video posted in the link below, so do check out that and to actually figure out what's the math behind the damage calculation formulas. So that's basically the main thing for this pay to win version. Now, you may also need to get a slight bit of RNG with Jujutsu's Black Flash. I'm not sure how many you will need. Once again, it's going to be kind of dependent on how strong is your Jujutsu, what level, and also what skill level, etc. You can see I have both his skill 2 and skill 3 at level 10. So once again, you may need a slightly bit of RNG in case you need Black Flash for that extra bit of damage on Jujutsu. But overall, I think this is a fairly smooth process for the pay-to-win players out there. Okay, so that's the pay-to-win strat. Now let's talk about the free-to-play strat. So for the free-to-play strat, it's actually going to be very similar. You will also have Kaito, and you also have Yaga, but this time it's always going to be the SR version. And rather than Domain Megami, you have Nanami. Once again, it's just the same type of damage calculation. And then you want your main DPS. In my case, I'll have my Nobara. For transparency, my Nobara is highly maxed, so it's like 5-2. And also level 10 skills. So you may not able to quite replicate the same amount of damage I'm going to show you guys. Now, as for the backup option, it's pretty much any yellow DPS you want. As you can see, my Toge is only at level 80. It's only grade 11 as well. And if you take a look at his skills, it's hardly leveled up. So I do feel like any kind of second yellow DPS is actually going to be okay here. So you don't have to worry too much about this. But Toge is actually going to be the best choice because what Toge is able to do is basically do a bit of extra debuff, and that helps your Nobara to do more damage. But also importantly, at the same time, he's actually able to protect your ally from withdraw from the battle as well. So that kind of removes some of the RNG element was the enemy targeting towards the end of the battle. So that's basically what I have decided on Toge here. But if you really don't have Toge, I think any other yellow DPS can probably do as well. Now, obviously, this is a super free-to-play friendly version. If you do have Domain Megami, simply sub out Nanami with Domain Megami, and then you might be able to reach like rank 8 maybe. So, just depending on who you have actually in your box, just, adjust the team lineup slightly. Now, in terms of the main strategy with this one, once again, it's pretty straightforward. You'll be doing a combo attack between your Kaito and Nobara when you do your usual nail stacking. So you do your skill 2 once, and then follow up by your skill 1 twice, and then ult, basically. That's what you want to do. But obviously, Nobara can only reach his ult on 10-5. So that's kind of why you'll see me do skill 2 twice, then skill 1 twice, and then ult. So that's basically the very first time. That can basically kill off the first wave of the boss or the first phase of the boss, and you don't even need to use Reflection. And then for the second phase, you'll be doing the same thing. So you'll be doing your skill 2 once, and then you'll be doing your skill 1 twice, and then ult. And when you do actually do that ult, you'll be to combo attack on all of your characters together at the same time. Now, one thing you do have to watch out for is that I think on boss turn 7, basically on the second phase of the boss, when the boss has already done 2 attacks, this is where the enemy is going to use an AoE, and that is going to be the timing when you activate your mutual trust in order to do a bit of damage reduction. And right after your whole team take that damage, AoE damage, that's when you'll then be using the healing to make sure your team stay healthy. Then you kind of just play along from there. Eventually, one of your characters is going to die, and then your Toga is going to come in. If you have done a crit with your ultimate attack on Nobara, you should be able to get the boss almost to the breaking point. And then basically what you want to do is just buy a bit more time with Toge. Toge also have this healing reflection to make your team healthy again. And then you just wait for a combo attack with all of the ult from Nobara again. And then that's how you can wipe out the remaining bit of the boss second phase, and then that basically can bring you to rank 7.
めんどくせえ集中するんだ行くぞ最善の一手をよしはっ飛び込むモキュブラパンあ集中するんだやるか相手よし後ろは任せてくださいここで叩くモキュブラパン畳みかけるしっかり行くぞ行くか皆様前に集中を飛び込むモキュブラパンうわ集中するやるか相手の動きをよしはっ飛び込むモキュブラパンうわ最後まで気は抜くな相手が隙を見いつでもいけるぞ最善の一手行くか呪連させて同一展開覚悟を上げてやるぞ する。行くぞ。さて、行ける。後ろは任せてください。教育が必要そうだな。出番だキャッシー。あっ、こくって。行くぞ。おっしゃ。しっかりしろ。やるか。最善の一手を。行くか。はっからげ。モキュブラファン。削れろ。畳みかける。最後まで気は抜くな。相手が隙を見せた。やるか。相手のよし。はい。ガラケ指導だ。畳みかける。今なら俺でも。やるか。相手の動きを行くか。皆様前に集中を。やれ。畳みかける。今なら俺でも。やるか。最善。よし。援護します。飛び込む。やれ。畳みかける。さて、軽くひねるか。やっちゃっていいの？行くぞ。さて、準備はいいか？行くか。術式準備。ああ。飛び込む。やれ。あっ。やっちゃっていいの？やるか。さて、行くか。術式順天。ああ。ガラケやれ。手加減はした。いつでもいけるぞ。さて、準備。いける。術式順天。ああ。ガラケモキュブラファン。畳みかける。それじゃ落ち。いつでもいけるぞ。さて、いける。領域展開無料空襲。領域展開覚悟を上げて。めぐみ当たりました。モキュブラファン。うわあ。手加減はやるか。さて、いける。まだまだ。教育が必要そうだな。出番だキャッシー。あっ、ごくって行くぞ。おっしゃ。手加減は行くぞ。うわ行くか。まだまだ。飛び込む。やれ。強くなったねユージ。畳みかける。はーい、今がちょ。行くぞ。うわ行くか。邪魔だよ。飛び込む。やれ。うわーうわー。動けんね俺。標的ですが冷静に立ち回れば集中するんだ。相手の片付けます。行くわよ。皆様前に集中を。では教育の時間だ。このまま払うわよ。しっかり片付け。行くわよ。皆様前に集中を。では教育の時間だ。かかってこいや。集中。相手片付け。行くわよ。では教育の時間だ。行きましょう。集中。相手手前。行くわよ。授業を始めよう。決まっていきましょう。今なら俺でも。手前。準備万端。こっからよ。ジュエンストジャテ。通例情報。感謝し。逃がすか。しっかりしろ。さて。相手してやる。後ろは任せてください。授業を始めよう。決まっていきましょう。かかってこいや。しっかりしろ。さて。相手してやる。授業を始めよう。決まっていきましょう。しっかりしろ。さて、準備はいいか。さて。行くわよ。邪魔はさせない。では、教育の時間だ。踏ん張りどころ。今なら俺でも。さて、準備はいいか。さて、行きますよ。準備万端。こっからよ。ジュエンストジャテ。 行くぞ、総力戦だ。これで払い切る。遅れるな。対象の7タイタンの点を弱点にする。私からは以上です。
通例情報頼もしい。
決めます。
逃がすか。
集中するんだ。最善片付けます。
行くわよ。
邪魔はさせない。では教育の時間だ。ここが踏ん張りどころです。
どもない
行くろ。筋か。相手の動きをしゃげ。
行くわよ。
授業を始めよう。はっ、くだけろ。
どもない
集中するんだ。最勘弁。
相手してやる。
後ろは任せてください。では教育の
この
時間だ。
まま払うわよ。
くだけろ。今なら俺で。最善の一射撃。
準備万端。こっからよ。
では教育の時間だ。今なら俺でも。相手の動き。射撃。
準備万端。こっからよ。
援護します。では教育の時間だ。止まれ。今なら俺で。さて。射撃。
準備万端。こっからよ。
主演素術。行くぞ、総力戦だ。これで払い切る。遅れるな。ぶっ飛べ。すごい。
通例情報頼もしい。
明太子。
逃がすか。